Okay guys, so today I wanted to respond to a DM question, prompt, whatever you want to call it, that I got from one of you guys. And as always, I encourage you guys, whether you're on our Discord or in the comments or whatever, to send me questions like this, because often they can start interesting conversations. This one was coming from someone named Nighthawk. Shout out Nighthawk. He wrote the following, quote, "Luke, longtime viewer, first time DMer, I just wanted to ask a simple question. Is Emil Pagliarulo, I'm assuming, actually that bad? I see all over Reddit and YouTube comments that he is pointed to as the weak link in Bethesda. A lot of people seem to blame him for the game's simplifying over time. But I was wondering if you think he's actually that bad or gets a bad rep, since it's easier to blame the one guy than a whole company that's mismanaged." I can read. "I think it's much more complicated than just one or two people being responsible for the games being dumbed down, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Sincerely, Nighthawk," in parentheses, praise Todd. I will agree that I think it's more complicated than just that. Anybody who thinks that Bethesda's ills are just like Todd or Emil, I think is being needlessly reductive. But to discuss Emil specifically, because some people maybe are not familiar with the lore, as it were, with Emil. Emil is basically Todd's like right-hand guy. He's the world builder, the world crafter for Todd. He was given the keys to basically design the universe of Starfield, for example. He has a long history at Bethesda Game Studios. You can actually watch the making of Fallout 3 documentary that they made back in 2008, and he's in that, describing like how they crafted it, how they built it around power fantasy and escapism. It's very interesting. So he's an OG through and through. He's also the guy that like wrote the chants in Skyrim that like can be translated in and out of different languages and still hold in meter and stuff. Like he is a brilliant writer in many respects, and I think he deserves credit for that. But most of his reputation souring goes back to a GDC. I don't think it was GDC. It was like, it wasn't DICE either. It was some conference, some like game developer conference, where he gave a talk about writing stories within games. And this was right after Fallout 4 had come out. I think it was circa like 2015, 2016 that he gave this talk. And it ended up spreading across the internet like wildfire. A few YouTubers did videos on it at the time, and that really spread it everywhere. But effectively, what he described was their philosophy for writing out these stories and building out these worlds. And there were a few very clear-cut, like, what do you call it? Sound bites, I guess, that people took from it, which I think are reflective of their actual philosophy. The one, for example, said, "You can write the next great American novel, but a lot of players, if not most players, are going to rip out the pages of your great American novel and make paper airplanes with it." I'll let Jacob insert the clip here.
So let's say, okay, we're going to write the great American novel. It's going to be this thick. And on every page will be written comedy and tragedy, and it'll be wonderful, it'll be amazing. And you're going to give this book, this great American novel, to the player. And what are they going to do with it? They're going to rip out every page and make paper airplanes out of them. And they're going to throw them around the room. And they're never going to see your story. Because the story is there, right? But they are going to spend 30 hours making shacks. Okay? They're going to spend 20 hours looking for bobbleheads. Okay? But that's okay. We know that going in. That's the jagged pill that we swallow when we do this. Because again, great games are played, not made, and a story in a video game is an interactive thing. And so we know that, and we're comfortable with that.
And the reason that quote really rubbed a lot of people the wrong way is because it seems very, I don't know, it seems to not give their own players much credit. You know, the idea that like, I could write you an amazing story for this video game, but you're not even gonna appreciate it. Like, you're just gonna rip the pages out and do something stupid with it. I'm gonna write this amazing plot line and this amazing character arc, but you're just gonna ignore it and then try to go murder hobo and kill the NPCs, and you're not gonna appreciate it. And the reason that frustrates people is because it sort of creates an incentive and it develops an excuse to never need to try. You know, like if you're expecting the player is never going to engage with that, why would you put the effort into writing the next great American novel? And in the broader context of that entire speech that he's giving, he's effectively excusing away any lack of narrative depth because it's not going to matter to most players, quote unquote. And that's where like his reputation immediately started to sour. That caused a lot of people to look much more closely at his track record, at his techniques, at how he did things, and a lot of the attention was put on Fallout 4, of course. Fallout 76 did not help, but he had kind of the excuse that it wasn't a narrative like focused game. It's a multiplayer online like looter shooter effectively. So who cares if the narrative isn't that great? But then Starfield came out. It's a new IP. They could have done anything with it. And one of the most consistent complaints about Starfield is that it plays like Skyrim in space. Like it plays in such a bare bones, basic, kind of unimaginative way that it's kind of shocking. Like instead of wacky, crazy alien species or something that really put a twist on like this alien culture is bizarre or whatever, they don't do anything like that. There's no alien species other than like, you know, unintelligent life that's just kind of wandering around like crabs and lizard looking things. And then as for like the actual humans that populate the universe and the galaxy that you're exploring, those people are effectively just archetypes that you've seen 1,000 times before. It's space pirates, space cowboys, and they all have southern accents for some reason. Like the space scientists, the space corporatists. Like it's the most bare bones kind of elementary sci-fi that you could possibly imagine. I mean, they're really, I struggle to think of a single unique idea in Starfield at all. Like truly. Some of the food is shaped like cubes. That's kind of funny, I guess. But like, it's really hard to come up with specific examples of anything that was like genuinely novel or interesting. Even like, oh, the space magic powers. It's just like Fus Roda and stuff, but in space. They have a cool New Game Plus where like you cycle back and the cycle repeats itself. I mean, that's New Game Plus. People acted like it was revolutionary. It's like, it's cool. It's a good idea for New Game Plus, but it's not really revolutionary or anything, you know? And I think that's where people really got to the point where they started to dismiss Emil, and that was compounded even further just to fully paint the picture of why he's viewed the way he is in those comment sections and subreddits and stuff. It kind of came to a head after Starfield launched, and he took to Twitter to sort of defend himself. I'll let Jacob put up some of the articles written around that time here, but basically, like, he got on there and tried to say, hey, I know a lot of people didn't connect with this, but a lot of people did. I know that you guys didn't like this, but a lot of people did. And he was effectively, you know, going and playing defense for something he worked on for a decade, which I think anybody would do. If you worked on something for a decade, I would hope that you would defend it and you'd be proud of it in some way. But as with most things on the internet, if the internet kind of collectively decides that something sucks and you're the guy that tries to go and play defense, you're gonna get run over. And that's sort of what happened. He deleted his Twitter account and then went over, and I think he's still active somewhat on Blue Sky, but I don't really know. But that's effectively kind of why Emil is viewed the way that he is, because he was given the keys to the kingdom for Starfield, and most people feel that he didn't do a particularly good job. And that as he's climbed the ranks within Bethesda and gotten more and more control, it seems like Bethesda's philosophy has leaned more and more into what he described in that keynote speech when he was effectively coming up with excuses as to why you didn't need depth in your game's narratives or role play or anything, because most players, quote unquote, are just gonna dick around and not appreciate it, you know, which I think is probably a fair evaluation. Like personally, I look at Bethesda games from like 2006, like you look at Oblivion and then you compare it to Starfield's level of roleplay and character building and stuff, certainly like Fallout 76 or Fallout 4's, and it's really hard to come to any conclusion other than they have streamlined a lot in the pursuit of other more maybe mainstream players. Now, having said all of that, going back to the core question from Nighthawk, which was, I just wanted to ask a simple question. Is Emil actually that bad? Maybe I'll get flack for this. I don't think he's as bad as many people say that he is. Maybe I'll offer more nuance. I think Emil is really bad at writing narrative RPGs. Okay, I think that he does not want or is unwilling or unable to deliver the depth that a lot of their roleplay fans want. Like he could not, I think, join Larian working on Divinity or a Baldur's Gate type game. I don't think he could do that because that's just not how he works. Like what he's doing is he's making popcorn. He's making, Cheerios. He's making Fruit Loops. He's making those kind of easy to consume, bite-sized little things that a lot of people enjoy, but it has no substance at all. It has no sustenance. It's not going to help you at all. You're not going to finish that meal and be like, whew, wow, I need to go sit in a recliner. It's just enough to give you oh, that was pretty good. That's what Emil's good at. And there is a place for that. This is one thing that I think sometimes surprises people when I talk about some of these types of games. There is a place for junk food games. I like junk food games. There's times where junk food games really hit the spot, it's not that serious. It doesn't take itself that serious. One of the best examples is Just Cause 2. Dude, I freaking love that game. I think it was 2010, I want to say, is when that game came out. It was a 360 game. I'll have Jacob put up some gameplay footage here. Bro, Just Cause 2 was goated, dude, and it's totally nonsensical. It's just utter, explosions, Michael Bay, escapism through and through. It is ridiculous, but it's fun. And that's also true of Just Cause 3 and 4 or the Dead Rising games. They're not games you play to self-reflect. You're not playing that to learn more about the human condition or to think about your role in the universe. You can play Baldur's Gate. You can play something like Rogue Trader. I'm trying to just think of games with really good writing. You can play Kingdom Come Deliverance. You can play games like Mafia. And you can have moments where you sit back and you go, shit. I remember playing The Witcher 3, and there's many quest lines in that. People often point to just the Bloody Baron, but there's so many quest lines in The Witcher 3 that are phenomenal. Even in Cyberpunk as well. And that's just not what Bethesda does. Maybe at one point 25 years ago they did that, but those days are long since gone. One of my favorite channels to recommend people is Kiwi Talks. He does a lot of interviews with game developers, people from Bethesda Game Studios, Naughty Dog, Rockstar, you name it. He's probably interviewed somebody, as I drop my phone, he's probably interviewed somebody that has worked on one of those projects and studios. And one thing that's utterly fascinating about that is that he's also interviewed a lot of people from BGS back in the day, like Bruce Nesmith, for example. Some of these OGs from Bethesda that worked at the studio back in the days of Oblivion, even, all the way back, I think a couple of them worked on Arena, but even the other ones like Daggerfall or Morrowind, kind of what a lot of the old school BGS fans would say is the golden age. And a lot of those people are gone, not because they were fired, but because they just retired or they got frustrated. A lot of those old guard individuals, they just frankly got kind of shouldered out, I think, when especially they sold out to Microsoft. Just a lot of those people that liked the small, intimate teams, they liked going into the office and seeing somebody that they've known for 25 years. They didn't like it when the company grew to 500 employees, and all of a sudden, it wasn't seeing Greg, who you met in 1995. It's seeing Chad, who just started 6 months ago and is in charge of 15 people, and then you're in charge of 30 people, and it's just super corporate, A lot of those people left, and so I think that the talent required to make those types of games like a Morrowind and those really deep narratives with choice and consequence, those people are just, they've retired, they've moved on. A lot of them left and they're writing books or they're writing fantasy novels and stuff, or they've just flatly retired. And the people that are left are the ones from the more modern era of Bethesda who are designing games that are much more streamlined, much more simplified. But to be fair, and this is something that's frustrating for me to acknowledge, but it's important to acknowledge, those games are popular, dude. I think Starfield lacks depth in almost every single way. As wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle is the example or the turn of phrase. But dude, millions of players did play Starfield. It's an hours played behemoth from within Game Pass analytics and stuff. The people that play it play a crap ton of it. Same with Fallout 76. I don't connect with it. A lot of people do. Same with Fallout 4. I don't think it's the best Fallout game. A lot of people have spent an ungodly amount of time in it. And that's what they ultimately care about, is they are looking not at the hardcore purists. They are looking at the quieter 90%, or even if you say that's too generous, even if it's like the quiet 70%, it's still a majority. And those are the people that they are ultimately, I think, targeting. So when we ask, like, is Emil actually that bad? I think he's bad if he was trying to make Fallout New Vegas. If he was trying to write Fallout New Vegas 2, I think that game would be bad. I don't think that would be good. But he's not doing that. For the types of games Emil is making, I think he's actually quite well qualified. And I think he actually does have probably the right mindset for making a popcorn open world adventure game. It's not that serious. It doesn't have much depth to it or weight to anything. It just allows you to play and float through it in a light, fantastical sense, and you just don't have to think about much. And for a lot of people, that's what they're looking for. And that's frustrating to old school Bethesda fans and old school like Fallout and Elder Scrolls fans who are wanting to go back to the days when they had like real grit to them. But those days are long since gone. And I think now Fallout and Elder Scrolls, at least in their current forms, they are popcorn IP. Like they are just not designed or not intended to have depth. So when we ask, is Emil that bad? I think for the types of games, if you're asking that question, probably. But for the types of games that he's been tasked with building by Todd and previously Phil Spencer and the previous management, I think he's doing exactly the kind of job that they would want. It's not satisfying the hardcore fan base, sure, but I think he is satisfying a new fan base that's much quieter and doesn't tend to engage in a lot of these types of debates online, which is why when he went on social media and he was playing defense for Starfield, which again, I think anybody would do for a project they worked on for a long time, and he should defend his baby. I think when you look at it through that lens, it starts to make a lot more sense. Like, he's telling one old jilted lover, I still care about you, but my new lover is way better. They spend more money on me. Like, that's ultimately what's happening, is that it's like, yes, hardcore fans, we get you, you're upset, but the new hotness, Hanso, so hot, that like they are the ones that ultimately I think BGS is primarily concerned with. At least they have been. That's been the story for a long time. Asha seems to be trying to satisfy both groups at the same time, giving Obsidian keys to the kingdom as well. It seems like she might be open to expanding. There's even rumors that just dropped today, the day I'm filming this, that Fallout is potentially being discussed over at the team doing Clockwork Revolution in Exile. Of course, a company with ties back to OG Fallout. And there's rumors that after Clockwork, they may get asked to help work on some Fallout spin-off, which would be very, very interesting. And I think that that's Asha's broader approach, is to try and get a lot of different pots on the stove, all different dishes to satisfy everybody, whether they want a little mild or something really spicy or something that's basically just boiled water. She wants something for everybody within those IP, and that's what she's shooting for. So, long answer short, sort of. Sort of. Depends on who you ask. But thank you so much, Nighthawk, for the question. And I think it's an interesting question. And hopefully now you understand better why Emil is viewed the way that he is. But also perhaps you can appreciate why he does what he does and why it's maybe not as black and white as he's just bad at his job. Often there's more nuance to it. And in this case, I think it's frustrating that this is the direction they're taking, but it's the one that has allowed them to grow to like 500-600 employees and just print money over the last handful of years. So there you go. I'm going to call it there. My little puppy is barking upstairs. She wants dinner, I'm guessing. So I'm gonna go do that. Thank you for watching. Much love. I'll see you in the next one, guys. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye. He took my thing.